So I don't know if you're like me, but this last couple of months, I literally feel like my brain is not working. I don't know what's going on, but it's just not working the way it used to. And so I asked my friend, Dr. Tim Engelman, in jest this last week, if perhaps I could borrow his brain. Again, meant it as a joke. He said, sure thing. I'll send it to you tomorrow. And I'm like, haha. So the next day, Dr. Tim Engelman leaves this outside my door. Yes, it is his model of the human brain. Tim explained to me that our thinking parts of our brain are our frontal lobes, this section here. That is why if you get into a car crash or something, it is the frontal lobe, it is the rational part of our brains that has a hard time. He also explained that it is our emotive side, or our amygdala, that is deep within the core of our being. So when we are crying, we are tapping into something deeper in our hearts. So that's the first thing. Crying goes deeper. The second point is sort of obvious. Crying gives us relief. It's sort of a pressure valve. Remember those old pressure cookers back in the day that had a valve in the top that let out the steam? God has given us a natural pressure valve in our lives that we very rarely take advantage of. So when we cry, we are releasing emotions and sometimes anger. We are allowing sadness to come out. So number one, it goes deeper. Number two, it relieves something in our lives. But three, on this Palm Sunday, and this is the most important point today, the reason we should cry is because Jesus cried. Jesus cried. Jesus, the God of the universe, cried. Now, Jesus, we are told in the Bible, cried on two occasions. The first main occasion that we are told, again, Jesus probably cries more in his childhood. We'll get to that in a moment. But Jesus cried during the death of his best friend named Lazarus. Jesus wept. Jesus cried. So we know that Jesus cried over Lazarus, incidentally, right before Lazarus' resurrection from the dead. The second time that we know that Jesus cries is in our text today. Jesus is entering Jerusalem, and he is on the way to the cross. He is also on the way to his own resurrection. And here we hear this incredible text about crying. Now, as we saw a couple weeks ago, Jesus was also a child, and surely Jesus cried during his childhood, as all children do. Which here's another little interesting point I learned this last week. Evolutionary biologists have learned, or have at least surmised, that the reason that children cry is because it is a kind of like GPS system for parents. It's like an alarm system. So when your kid cries, it lets the parent know where the kid is. It's happened for millions of years. Which, when my own kids cry, I'm like, okay, let's turn off the GPS system for a little bit. Okay, let's get into our text for today. Now, I want to read the entirety of this Palm Sunday text because, frankly, I want it to not just enter your rational thinking place, your frontal lobe. I want this text to enter something deeper, into your amygdala, into that emotive part of your being. Luke 19, 28 through 41. Listen for the word of the Lord. After Jesus said this, he went on ahead, going up to Jerusalem. As he approached Bethphage and Bethany at the hill called the Mount of Olives, he sent two of his disciples, saying to them, "Go to the village ahead of you, and as you enter it, you will find a colt tied there, which nobody has ever ridden. Untie it and bring it here. If anyone asks you, 'Why are you untying it?' say, 'The Lord needs it.'" They brought the colt to Jesus and threw their cloaks on the colt and put Jesus on it. And he went along, and as he went along, people spread their cloaks on the road. When he came near to the place where the road goes down the Mount of Olives. The whole crowd of disciples, this would have been hundreds of people, began joyfully to praise God in a loud voice for all the miracles they had seen. And they sang, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord." And they sang, "Peace in heaven and glory in the highest." By the way, the only time that Jesus had ever had that song sung over him before was when he was born, and the angels themselves sang, "Peace over the one who has come." But here's the focus for the morning. As Jesus approached Jerusalem, and as he saw the city, he wept over it. He sobbed over Jerusalem. He cried deeply. Now, why did Jesus cry on that Palm Sunday? We will never really know, because we aren't God. We know that Jesus was probably a little frustrated or angry or very upset with the religious establishment. We know that Jesus was no doubt sad about entering the Via Dolorosa as he was to walk to the cross. We know that Jesus had a panoply of emotions, that there were people who were happy around him, and that people also cry when they are happy. Perhaps it is some swirl of this, but this is actually where, when Jesus cries, it is different from the way that you and I cry. And here's the main thing I want you to hear today. When Jesus cries, Jesus' tears are always healing.